looks like we have a quorum now, and
Yes.
hi there. Our 7 o'clock is the community center project. And Mary, what were the updates for that?
All right. I was hoping Sean would be here. I did talk to him earlier today. Let me share my screen. They have made some progress, but not as much as you would want. All right, so I had asked them to clean the dirt away from the trees, and they've cleaned out about 2 to 3 feet around most of the trees, so that's good. I had also asked them to clean up the rocks at the bottom of the slope, and they had not gotten to that yet. And you can see a couple places, where all this rubble is, there's skunk cabbage trying to come through. So it needs to get cleaned up. And then this is kind of looking at up the slope. They still need to put their jute cloth on. Sean was talking with me pretty extensively because we had asked him to put the seed down and then the jute cloth, and he called New England Wetland Plants, and the guy there was telling him, well, it's far too late to put the seed on. And with that slope, it'd probably just wash up. So he recommended waiting to do everything in the spring, but it's my sense that we should at least get the jute cloth down. It is my sense of what they should do once they get the rocks off the bottom. And they've been using, he's got this bucket kind of attached to a tractor, and I guess it's been working for him to pull stuff up the hill.
Hi, Mary. Yes, it's called a scoop. This is Sean Craig.
Oh, great, Sean. Anything you want to add?
I think you covered it fairly well. It was really speaking to him about the pitch of that slope. I mean, it's a good 45 degrees down, and there was concern that whatever you do right now may, first off, the seed is going to be dormant, and it's not going to we need to take until, obviously the spring in May, when it gets into the 50s, it could wash away. And with that, we may have to do several seedings during the spring. The one thing you didn't mention is that he had actually recommended, given the pitch of that slope, to use a different mix called New England Erosion Control Restoration Dry Mix. It's a turf grass, and you will get sprouts within just a couple of weeks. And he felt that may be a much better solution given that pitch, so that it'll begin to grow. That said, again, spring, if it rains at all in those couple of weeks, we'll put that seed back down again until it takes. But that was really the only real change, was that they recommend a different mix. And speaking earlier today, it sounded as if it would be okay if we went ahead and did that now with the jute, and then did the same mix in the spring as opposed to the other mix that was earlier recommended.
John, I have one question. Did you tell him that the slope is somewhat shaded?
I did not.
Okay. I don't know whether that affects the mix or not.
This is Mike. I'd be cautious about the jute matting being woven too tightly together. You want some spaces between the jute fibers for the seeds to basically either fall in between the spaces or for seedlings to grow up between the spaces. You can get jute matting that is extremely dense, that would actually suppress vegetation growth, seedling establishment.
I had brought this to Mary's attention a little bit earlier. There is some internal debate about what goes down first, and from conservation, as well as speaking to the New England group, obviously they want seed to soil best contact between and they recommended really that you should be putting down the seed first with the jute over top. There are several within the DFW that are doing this work that have never done it that way, and we are trying to make sure they understand that we want to put down the seed first, especially given the winter and erosion. We want to, under the mat to help potentially prevent erosion.
Understood, but whichever way you decide to do it, I would just advise that the jute not be really, really heavy mat.
All right. Thank you.
So I guess, and I'm not sure that Sean knew this, but they still need to kind of let us know when they're going to be able to finish this, getting the rocks out and at least putting the jute down for the winter. Obviously seeding needs to happen, whether it's now or in the spring, but.
The jute was discussed at a previous meeting, and I believe we had voted to extend purchase the jute. I do not know whether or not it has already been purchased. I would have to make a couple calls to find that out, but I believe it has been approved.
Sean, when's your next
Yes.
meeting with the VFW people?
It's always the first Wednesday of the month. But I don't think we're waiting on anything at this point. We can get the jute, and I can get the seed if we can get the rocks up and get that down. Really just a matter of coordinating now. As you know, we've had a couple rain dates, but you got out there this last weekend to try to get around the trees as much as they could.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to hazard giving us a day that you guys think you can get it done by?
Unfortunately, this is really something that Steve Saucier has been handling with Ed McKinney.
Okay.
And I know Steve Saucier is out of town right now, so he just asked me to fill in. And I had specifically just mentioned at our last meeting that I was going to be calling the wildlife group and asking about the seed and what the recommendation was.
Okay. All right. Well, Ed did call me today, and then we lost connection, so I never got to find out what his status was or how he thought things were going. So
our call actually, I feel that our call kind of ended a bit abruptly at the end. I wasn't quite sure what happened. Don't know if it's a issue with your line.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but I don't know if there's something wrong with that phone there. I guess I should look into that. Oh. All right. Well, I'm glad things are moving along, and obviously we'd like to get it buttoned up for the winter sooner rather than later. And I will talk with Ed and try to get things going. Hopefully, I would hope that the jute cloth could be down in 2 or 3 weeks. At least that would be my hope.
I would hope so. Again, I'd have to speak to Steve Saucier. I think he's the one who's really been trying to direct that with Ed.
Yeah. So our next meeting is the 28th. Should keep you guys on the agenda until it's taken care of.
Okay.
Do you want to leave that on for 7 o'clock on the 28th? So, Mary, do we want to leave that on for the 7 o'clock on the 28th?
Yeah,
Okay.
if that slot's open, that's good.
Okay. Perfect. So, anything else for the community center project?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Paul Flaherty for the building committee. I don't think Mr. Manager is on this call. My question is this: is there any possibility that the commission could remove the enforcement order? Excuse me, remove the enforcement order against the town and Hutter and AO, whoever else is really not party to this anymore, as you've basically been working with the VFW to resolve the situation. I guess, could we remove the enforcement order against not parties immediately involved in this situation?
What do you think, Mary?
All right, so we have outstanding enforcement orders against the VFW, against Hutter, and against AO, and against Ed McKinney. So there are 4 people involved. To be honest, I think it's nice that Ed's been using his little machine to get the stones up the hill. I think that's kind of been working, but if AO needs to come in with their bigger machine again, I would like to leave that possibility open in case Ed's not able to do that. So I'm not really prepared to lift the enforcement orders yet. I'd like to see everything buttoned up. I don't foresee that this will go, once I feel like the slope is covered with jute and stuff and kind of stabilized for the winter. I think we'd certainly want to lift it before you guys are ready to move into the community center. That's just my opinion. Let's see what the board thinks.
Well, I thought my recollection was that Al couldn't reach down any further with his machine, with the big machine that he has.
Right, and so, I had asked the VFW people to kind of by hand throw stuff up the slope, with that idea, and that's what they've been doing to use the bucket. I think they've been throwing it up by hand. So I don't really think we should lift any of the enforcement orders until it's stable, at least. That's my opinion. Obviously, it's the board that makes the final decision.
Does the board have any questions about the enforcement order at this point?
This is Alan. I completely agree with Mary.
Do other members of the commission have any other input about it?
I would
Yeah,
agree with
Mary.
well.
Sorry. I agree with Mary also. This is Tom.
I do as well, Mike.
Do we have any other concerns from the commission?
I just, Madam Chairman, through you, might I just say that AO's time on that project is very limited. Like I would think that they'd be out of there in another couple of weeks. I may be wrong, but we've had several things kind of pop up that we didn't anticipate, which you got to keep in mind that substantial completion date was December 9th, I believe it was. So, and now it's the middle of March. So, but just with respect to that machinery still being on the property, I don't foresee that being there for maybe more than 2 or 3 weeks. So, if there is necessity to talk to Al about doing anything else, I would think that it would be imperative that somebody reached out to them sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. John, are you still online?
I am.
Okay, so you heard that.
Yes, I did.
Is it possible for us to authorize Mary to lift the enforcement order when she sees it's appropriate and not have to take it to a vote at a meeting? That might expedite things if necessary.
That's a good question. I've only ever seen a board lift an enforcement order, but you might be able to authorize me to do that. I don't know.
I don't either, but it's just one way to help this move along.
Yeah.
I suggest we're going to meet again in 2 weeks. So why don't we revisit the question in 2 weeks?
Do we have a consensus from the board to have Mary be in charge of lifting the enforcement order as seen necessary?
I don't think that's really a good idea to put Mary in that position, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think that's something the board should decide.
Especially since we're meeting in 2 weeks, I think that that's a reasonable amount of time to wait.
Okay, let's do a voice vote about that, about lifting the enforcement order as Mary sees fit in 2 weeks. Hopefully they'll be done with that by then.
Well, in 2 weeks, we can lift the order.
Right,
So Mary doesn't have to be in that position at all.
right.
So
Okay,
I don't think we don't really have anything to vote on.
right. So we'll continue this on for the enforcement order for 2 weeks, and hopefully it will be done by then. So Paul will keep it on until 2 weeks, and hopefully it's all set by then.
I hope so, but you get bad, like you say, been talked about earlier, you get bad weather issues coming in, and as far as maintaining that slope, I understand what everybody said, but I don't see that whole issue being resolved in 2 weeks. But that's your decision, and that's fine.
Okay, we'll keep it on then for 2 weeks, and hopefully it's fixed by then.
I will talk to Al tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Tell him where we are with this. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mary.
Thank you, Paul. Okay,
now we have at 7:15 the notice of intent for 17 School Street for a new single family house. So let me just read the order. Okay, a notice of intent filed by William Andrews of 17 School Street, Upton, Mass. Map 201-111, Parcel 2, for the construction of a single-family house with associated amenities within 100 feet of a wetland and is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act or the Town of Upton bylaw, Wetlands bylaw. So, who is presenting that?
I'm Bill Andrews. I'm here tonight to answer any of your questions. I believe Karen Keegan from Allen Engineering is also here to handle any technical questions. What I'm trying to do is build a retirement home. Many of you know me. I'm going far. I'm going to move about less than a quarter mile. I want to build a handicap accessible home that would be better suited to my wife and I as we get older. Yeah, I can see you've got the plot plan up. I'm going to turn it over to Karen because she is the more of an expert on the components of the plan that are currently up on the screen. Karen,
Sure.
Are you there tonight?
I am Karen from
Thank you.
Allen Engineering. This is 17 School Street, and again, Mr. Andrews proposing a single-family house. The house is approximately 2,300 square feet, and then is it including his garage. The lot consists of 15,206 square feet with approximately 13,079 square feet of dry area. The lot was created in 1986. The building itself has been pushed as far back on the lot as possible and as far to the right as possible, not leaving much room to move it at all. Probably like a foot difference in there. We've put a proposed driveway in. I believe it should be paved, but I've added a tire scrubber for construction purposes so that they're not tracking any of the material off the lot across the street or across the street into the wetlands. I've also added 4 conservation markers to the plan along the 30-foot no disturb area. I've added 12-inch mulch staked mulch wattles with silt fence along that 30-foot no disturbed area. The house is to be connected to town water and to town sewer with an ejector pump. And the wetlands across the street used to drain onto this lot, which drains onto the lot next door to that. But this particular pipe has been crushed somehow, and it's no longer flowing. And if it does flow, it's a minimal flow. It's almost like it's not even connected to, the wetlands are not even connected to the pipe that crosses that street. So I do believe that we've tried to meet as much of this bylaw as possible. I know that a portion of this building is within the 50-foot no build buffer, but like I said, I've pushed it as far to the back and to the right as possible. Does the commission have any questions?
Mary, what are your thoughts?
All right. Yeah, I reviewed the site. I had no issue with the wetland delineation. And it is true that it doesn't seem like there's too many options other than making the house smaller. And it is a relatively modest house to get out of that no build zone. And so there's a couple areas where it jumps in here, and then the steps. And then actually parts of the driveway are in there too. And that was one question I have. So I guess the driveway is going to be paved.
Yes.
It's required by the town to be paved, the first
Okay.
24 feet.
All right.
Do we have the 2010 filing number?
Yes, I have that, 311-0806.
Okay.
Yeah, another comment I had is there, and I've talked to Bill about this, there's a fair bit of invasive species kind of along the edge of the wetland and up towards the no disturb, and we've talked about him working on removing some of those. There's bittersweet and a little bit of multiflora rose. Bill had a question about the installation of the sewer line, which is supposed to go like this and like that. And if it goes along the road here, there's several large trees that it may end up damaging the roots. So Bill was concerned, Bill thought it might be better to have it cross the corner of the wetland for a temporary disturbance, and then it would avoid these large trees. And let me show you the pictures. And the wetland here it's relatively dry, like in the center of the lot, it's much wetter. So it wouldn't be too wet of an area, but obviously that would be working in wetland. It'd be something the commission would have to consider. Here's kind of a view of his lot. It's mostly open right now. He did already cut some trees down, and he knows he wasn't supposed to do that. The trees were where the house site was going to be, and then one of the other trees was a very large tree, but I guess it was infested with bugs, tree person said. So this is kind of looking towards the wetland area that might need to be traversed with the sewer line. And where's the trees on the road? And this is the roadway. You can see it's pretty narrow where the sewer line would go in. There's two very large trees, this one and this one, that might be impacted by it. So it's something for the commission to think about, whether, the upland trees are more important than a temporary wetland disturbance.
Mary,
Completely
what
willing
kind of
to do
trees are
whichever
those?
one you want.
Mary, what kind of trees are those? Do you know offhand?
I think I didn't try to ID them, but I think this one, at least, I think they were oaks. I didn't look at them too carefully.
Well, I would be in favor of the cutting across the wetlands with a temporary disturbance to save those trees. We took a big hit in town with street trees a few years ago due to gypsy moths. So I would try to preserve large trees like that if we can.
Yeah, they are larger than anything that's kind of in the wetland. There's some maybe 4-inch trees there, but I think I think Bill thought he could work it so that you wouldn't be hitting any large trees by going through the wetland. Anyone from the commission have any other questions?
Could you go back to the plans? There's a question I had there. So there's a building setback line in the, can the structure be moved? I mean, rather than impose on the 50-foot buffer zone, could we impose on whatever the setback is set back from? The neighbor. Is that because there's a butters there, or is that there's something else?
There's a back setback also of 30 feet.
Right.
So I'm literally between the two lines.
I guess I'd rather see you closer to the abutters than the wetland. That's just my question. Is
that would require a variance from the zoning board, and I don't know if the Upton zoning board would want to grant such a variance. I don't know if they work closely with the Conservation Commission. Do they work closely with the commission to grant the variance to move that building back?
I haven't had any contact with them, so
yeah.
I guess not.
To move that building back, I would have to go in front of the zoning board of appeals for a variance for that. And the only hardship would be the wetlands. That 50-foot no build buffer. That would be my only hardship.
And I take it the abutters would have to be on board.
Yes. They would be part of that meeting.
And the other thing, if you did that, wouldn't you be extending the driveway so you'd have more pavement on the lot? So I personally would accept the impacts to the buffer zone. But we should, if that's all right with everybody, we should revisit the question about the sewer line, and someone may need to make a motion to allow the sewer line to cross the wetlands, temporary impact. But maybe we can deal with Marcella's question first.
It sounds like it would be another hoop to jump through, which doesn't. I was just wondering if it was something possible. I assume that it's not as easy as I was. So yeah, I feel like my question has been addressed. So if we want to move on, that's fine.
So what about the sewer line? Are there any other thoughts about it from other members of the board?
I'd be okay with that.
Marissa, you said you'd be okay with that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we allow the applicant to redesign the plan to allow the sewer line to cross through wetlands area, have a temporary disturbance in wetland areas.
I agree with that.
For a second.
I just have a quick question regarding that. What when you do that, is what kind of precautions do you take to protect the wetlands? Is there something special that needs to be done, or is it just the usual erosion control stuff and not get, take the materials off site, any disturbed materials? Is that it?
Put the, one condition should be put the wetland topsoil back on top.
Yes.
That would probably be the most important one.
And that soil would probably not be removed from the site. That would be the only soil that would stay on site. You don't want to remove that soil. You want to keep it as close to the wetlands as possible because you're going to return it to the wetlands as soon as possible, along with the plants that are taken out of there. So if we can keep some of those plants and do this quickly, it should work.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions about this?
Well, was there a second to the motion? Sorry to
I'll
be...
second that.
Okay, so thank you.
I second that. Do you have any other questions or comments?
We should, everyone should vote on that.
Okay, let's vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Mike,
Alan, aye.
Marcella, aye. I think that was everybody.
Okay, do we have a vote from Tom?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think Tom voted.
Okay,
I voted aye.
okay. Let's do a voice vote. That's a unanimous vote of the commission present. How about David? Did you vote?
I did. Yes, I voted aye, Chris.
Okay, thank you. So we're all in favor of that order. So,
Chris, was that the vote for the sewer line? And then we need to vote on whether or not to close the hearing and issue the order. If we're ready for that.
Yes, let's take a vote to issue the order for this project. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Have we voted to allow the encroachment into the buffer zone, or is that a different thing?
Oh, you're right. We need to vote. We need to vote for a waiver for that too. Yep.
Okay, let's
So I'll
vote.
make a motion that we approve the encroachment into the 50-foot buffer zone and of the house.
I'll second that. It's Mike.
Okay, let's do a voice vote for that. Marcella said aye. Mike said aye. Chris said aye.
Tom, I.
David, aye.
Alan, aye.
Okay, so we all voted aye for that, for the encroachment issue. Now, let's do a voice vote on the order of conditions. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
Can I have just a slight discussion before we do?
Oh, sure.
I'd like to ask Karen when she'd be able to get a revised plan showing the revised alignment for the sewer line.
Could possibly get you that by Monday.
Okay, thank you. So I would make a motion that we assure our conditions with the understanding that we will receive a revised plan showing the new alignment of the sewer line by middle of next week.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Any other discussion? Okay, let's do an order of conditions voted for the notice of intent for the new order of conditions. So Chris, I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, so that the unanimous vote of the commission members present to issue the order of conditions for the 17 School Street notice of intent order of conditions for 17 School Street, and that being with the new order or new notice of intent. And that's for our order of conditions.
I just want to say thank you to the board and thank you to Mary too for helping me through this whole process, and thank you to Karen also. It's been quite an education.
Great, good job. Thank you,
luck.
Mary.
I hope you get to move in soon.
I know. Thank you.
Well, if I'm lucky, I'll get the foundation in before winter. That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, good.
We're gonna try. It's getting close.
Oh, good. Well, we hope you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
For 7:30, we have an ANRAD, which was for 252 Milford Street, and that was continued from a previous meeting. And so, for 252 Milford Street, do I have someone present for that?
Hi guys, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. I'm the representative for 252 Milford Street. So yeah, I appreciate the commission's patience. We've been continuing this. We filed it back in October. At that point, Mary was doing a full review of the site. She had walked the site herself independently and then coordinated a site meeting with me to take a look at a couple areas in question. Yep, so these are the plans here. I believe it's sheet 5 has the only revisions that we have made. So I'm happy to talk over it while she's sharing the plans, but we took a look at the GCE series up to the left above that existing dirt road, abutting the neighboring parcel. Mary had raised some concerns that there seemed to be some hydric soils and a dominance of wetland vegetation above our original flags. So we took a look at that area. In the field, we agreed, and we took down flags 91 through 95. In their place, we hung a 91R to 95R series, just standing for 91 revised. Those were added to the plans. And then on the right side of that sheet, there's just one other flag. It's a 67-1R. For a revision flag, Mary identified an area of low topography below some rocks where water seems to still collect. So we hung one more flag to connect a revision in that area. At that point, we took a walk through the surrounding area to make sure we agreed on everything else. And at that point, we had no more questions on the delineation. So we sent survey back out there to pick up these new flags, add them to the plans. And at this point, I believe that we have an accurate representation of all the wetlands on the site.
Yeah, I think my only additional comment is, whoops. If a notice of intent is filed for this site, there appears to be some vernal pools up in this area that we would want to have evaluated, but that is not part of the ANRAD process. So.
Yep.
My only other question, Andrew, is I've looked at some of the wetland lines. As you can see, they go way off site, and I did not walk every inch of anything that was not on the subject property, and that was the ANRAD was just for the subject property, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. I think the ANRAD specified it was map 26, lots 22 and 24. So the flagging may have been a little bit overzealous off the lot, but we weren't confirming that as part of the project.
Yeah. You guys want to see some pictures, and this this site had an order of conditions before for the Cook gravel pit. And I did finally find that old plans and filing for that. So there are supposedly several bounds in the woods. I only found one of them, but I wasn't looking to try to find all of them. There was one little isolated part that Andrew had found. And then this is looking at Mill Pond. It's a beautiful site. Here's the one wetland bound I found. And I think there's more. So as part of any notice of intent filing that would be associated with this property, we'd have to go through that old order of conditions and make sure that, I think there's some continuing conditions on that order, and make sure they're being satisfied with a new notice of intent and new order. But that doesn't really affect the ANRAD.
Mhm.
Does the board have any questions or thoughts? Oh, there is no file number for this though, Andrew, right?
Yeah, we have been checking into that. I know DP's been backed up, but it seems like this one may have gotten lost in translation. So we have a follow-up due with them to figure that out.
Okay.
At this point now, obviously, I know that we probably have no more questions with the wetland line. And so I know we probably have to leave it open until we can officially close it. But if we want to start drafting the ORAD and touch base and get it done at the next meeting, I'm sure we'll have a file number by then.
Any other comments from commissioners or questions?
That was for the Cook property.
Yeah.
So is that for a notice of intent for a property there?
So yeah, so this was just reviewing the wetland line, and I did review the wetland line, and Andrew and I worked out the areas where there was discrepancies, and
So on the Cook property, they want to put a house lot on there?
Andrew, you don't know what they're planning on doing
okay.
with this property, do you?
Not at all yet. I think the ANRAD was essentially kind of to see what land was even usable on the property. So at this point, it was just to review the line. We don't have any building design plans yet.
I would make a motion that the commission issue the ANRAD for the project, accepting the wetland delineation as presented tonight.
It's okay if there's no DEP number yet.
Yeah, I think we should probably wait till next meeting,
Okay.
get that DEP number.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion we continue the hearing.
I second that.
I think we need a voice vote from the rest of the members.
No, Marcella, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I. David, I.
Chris, aye.
Mike, aye.
So, Chris, do we want to set a time for this at the next meeting?
How about if we do 7:30?
And that's December 28th.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so at this time we have continuing this to 7:30, and we have our 7 o'clock for the next step. at 7 o'clock at the next meeting, and 7:30. And let's see, our next meeting we also have that's probably it for our next meeting. And then we have our 7:40 for our this meeting, a request for determination of applicability filed by Kathy Taylor at 14 Plain Street, Upton, Mass, to determine if the area depicted on the plans, map 202, parcel 01, is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act or the Town of Upton's Wetland Protection Bylaw or the Town of Upton Protection Bylaw. Replacement of a septic system is proposed. All interested parties are invited to attend. Copies of the application are available on the Conservation Commission's website, www.uptonmass.gov/conservation-commission. So that was for 14 Plain Street for a new septic system replacement. So what do we have for there?
Good evening, board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. My name's Margaret Bacon. I'm an engineer and owner of Civil Site Engineering, and I'm here representing Kathy Taylor regarding a proposed septic repair for 14 Plain Street. And this is a typical septic repair, small lot. I have wetlands on one side. I don't know if Mary, if you can bring up the plan, or do you want me to bring up a plan?
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep. Perfect. So you can see the existing house, and on the right-hand side, there's a pretty good sized wetland complex to the right side and to the rear of her property. And so what we've done is right behind her garage, the existing garage at the end of her driveway, there was enough room right there. We conducted a perk test in a beautiful soil, low groundwater, so a system would fit right in there perfectly. For I think we designed it for a 3-bedroom system. So there's really nowhere else we can go on that property with a septic, but that is in the outer 100-foot buffer zone. We're outside the 50-foot buffer zone. And we do have erosion control, that pink line you see there. And the orange lines are the 50-foot buffer zone and the 100-foot buffer zone. And you can see that the septic's right in between the two of those. So we're requesting a negative determination so that Ms. Taylor can go ahead and put this system in without a lot of extra permitting and expense.
Okay, Mary, what do you have comments on this?
Yeah, so I took a look at the wetland delineation and there were no issues with that. Margaret, I just had a question on the straw wattles. I noted on the plans it says that they're biodegradable. Does that mean that the mesh for the wattles is also biodegradable? I was just curious.
Well, I know that there's all sorts of different types out there. I know that I've heard that mesh is biodegradable, but I don't know if that's the case or not. So
okay,
I can specifically make sure the contractor gets the kind without that plastic meshing. Is that what you're kind of referring to?
Yeah, someone told me the other day that they thought there was some mesh that was biodegradable, but I wasn't familiar with that. So if there is, that's great. But
yeah, I hear that, but I still see remnants of those straw wattles with the plastic still right there. I haven't seen it degrade yet.
Yeah,
so
I can just add into that. Yeah, there's all sorts of products out there that claim to have biodegradable poly netting, and it will degrade in the sunlight. But if it's not, often it will degrade in sunlight. But if it's not exposed to sunlight, it may take a long time to degrade and continue to pose a risk to wildlife. So best thing to use is some kind of a wada with a jute netting or some other non-polypropylene mesh to hold it together.
Okay, I can make that revision. I know Kathy's getting estimates now to have this put in, so I will make sure that gets addressed.
Compost too would be another alternative here.
Those compost sacks, yeah, I those are nice for the bigger jobs, but I know they can be kind of expensive too.
Yeah. You can get them that are like 6 inches or so. Anyway, I don't want to, spend more time on this, but just no poly netting, please.
Sure. Just make sure the whole thing's biodegradable.
All right. Yeah. So here's the stream, intermittent stream, which empties down into a more of a BVW. This is the bottom picture here is looking at the site where the septic system will go. You can see the wetland area well in the distance there. Margaret, I had a question, and I think Kathy, because it looked like on the plans that these 2 fruit trees were going to have to go down. Is that true?
Well, chances are, what's unfortunate, you try to avoid those, and even though they're off to the side, it's once you start digging, it's the roots.
Right.
And if we can avoid those or try to save them, we'll try. But sometimes, though, when you start digging and then you dig up a lot of roots, they're not going to survive.
Yeah. All right. Just another look at the stream. And I think the commission may be familiar with the neighbor's property, and Kathy noted that one of the flags had been right in the middle of the grass area of the neighbors, and it got removed. So the neighbor has been mowing within the wetland, and I think this has happened before. Maybe one of the other commission members remember better than I what the outcome was. Maybe we want to reach out to the homeowner again. I can do that if you guys think that's a good idea. And especially this area here looked like it was kind of like freshly mown, but it hadn't been mowed all summer, whereas this looks like he'd been maintained for a while.
It's probably worth talking to the owner again. Did Dave Pickard do any? I think he spoke with the homeowner initially, didn't he?
I think so, Marcella. Yeah, it was not too many years ago. So I would agree that Mary should kind of touch base with the butter.
I will do that. Yeah, other than that, I would just recommend issuing a negative determination for this project. It's not subject to the bylaw because the house is older. And
I move that we accept the plans with the change in the erosion control.
Do you have any other questions or comments on this one?
I'll second the motion that we accept the plans and issue negative determination.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, aye.
all right, so I'm just clarifying that motion was you stated to accept the plan. So are we issuing a negative determination? Is that, I just wanted to clarify the motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It might have added that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's a negative determination for 14 Plain Street.
Yeah, and I think I had recommended that just have the conditions of a erosion control inspection and then a final inspection on that determination for stabilization.
Excellent. So Kathy Taylor for 14 Plain Street is all set.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now, do we have anyone here for Governor's Landing?
Yes, you do. Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm Jeff Roloffs, outside counsel to the applicant. With me this evening is Sean Malone, and I'm going to quickly turn it over to Sean. As you might remember, the last time we were in front of you, we had presented to the commission a revised layout concept, which we had on one colored plan sheet. It was a layout that was significantly different than what you had previously reviewed, primarily driven by our discussions with Kathy Taylor and Bettina Washington, reflecting our attempt to avoid impacts to the most significant historic resources on the property. And we presented that layout to you as well as the other local boards. The feedback has been very positive. So since our last meeting, Sean has been working hard on the engineering associated with this new layout. He's generated a new set of site plans with additional details, a new drainage study, and other documents that detail the project in its new form. So those were just recently submitted to you. We don't expect that you've had a chance to review those. They are going out to peer review. DGT will be peer reviewing these. We were in front of the planning board last night and had discussions with them related to the plans, but we thought it was worth reviewing those with you this evening to respond to any questions you might have and just keep the process moving. So with that intro, I'll turn it over to Sean Malone. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. For the record, I'm Sean Malone from Oak Consulting Group, the civil engineer for the project. If I may, can I share my screen?
I hope you can, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Looks like we have success. Okay. So I don't intend to take a lot of time tonight. As Jeff mentioned, we brought forward this new concept to the commission a month and a half ago. So I just want to kind of hit on some key points and then obviously welcome any questions from the commission.
Is anybody else have this great big black bar going through it?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can't. There's a problem with the visual.
Yeah, Sean, you might want to just stop and restart your screen sharing. You got a bar cutting right through the whole screen. So why don't you stop sharing it and try it again?
All right, let's try this again.
Adventures with Microsoft Teams.
There you go.
Okay, it's a new virtual world we live in here.
Yeah, it's good. Now it looks good.
So just quickly recap. This is the old plan. This is the last plan from July. We had 100 senior development townhouses and single family houses in the rear of the site, and then 26 townhouse units in the front. We had a driveway and parking area along Milford Street here that would accommodate a commercial component to 12 of these townhouses. So we also had this vernal pool in the middle that has been previously identified. We had some proposed work within the 100-foot buffer to the resource area. So, and as Jeff mentioned, and we talked about before, and working with Kathy and Bettina, we wanted to relook at this site to try to, one, preserve and protect some of these cultural resources that have been identified out here, and in doing so, see if we could, create a site plan that actually protected this vernal pool and some of the other environmental resources on the site. So we came up with this plan here. And what this does, this is, again, 100 senior development housing units in the back, 27 townhouses in the front. So essentially the same density, one extra townhouse in the front that we were able to accommodate with the new layout. The driveways are in the same location, entering off of Milford Street. This portion of the roadway and cul-de-sac down here to the north is the same. And then the difference starts around this point here. So rather than turning up into the site closer to the vernal pool to meet the driveway from the center, we bring it out along the edge of the site. And in doing so, we're kind of maintaining a similar grade. This is a steep uphill here. So we're kind of just skirting that, staying below the center point of the site, which is up here, to bring that back in and into the townhouse development. So it really kind of creates a more simplified roadway network. And in looking at the grading here, and I'll get into a couple of little details here, but we essentially have a cut situation on the uphill side of the road and a fill situation on the downhill side of the road. And in looking at this plan again and working with the grading a little bit more, we've come up with a grading scheme that it reduces the amount of excavation, which in a lot of cases in this site is going to be blasting, and balances the site. So we're going to have a lot less exported material coming off the site, a lot less trucks leaving, et cetera, et cetera. With this new plan too, we're also staying out of the buffer zone completely to this vernal pool. And then one of the comments and the thoughts from when we presented this conceptually is this vernal pool now seems somewhat isolated. So what we did is we have about 350 feet of a wildlife corridor on the uphill side, no development, no disturbance, and about 180 feet on the downhill side. And we've designed a box culvert right here. So what this is a 10-foot wide, about 70 feet long, 3-foot clear space box culvert underneath the roadway. And we've positioned it in an area where the grades are most moderate going up to this vernal pool. So this would be, we feel, the most likely migration path of any critters that would be coming from the vernal pool, going down to the wetlands to the south here. So we think that with this culvert and the wildlife corridor provided, we're mitigating the fact that we are surrounding this vernal pool. In addition, with this layout, we have about 14 acres of upland in this interior section. So not only is the entire vernal pool resource area and buffer protected, we also have a large amount of upland surrounding it. We've also added a parking area. It was commented, I believe, by the commission here as well as the planning board to accommodate visitors coming to the site to be able to use these walking trails that exist, and we're going to maintain and provide some interconnection to maintain those. And then the last thing I want to just touch upon is this is the previous plan. So the previous plan proposed about 5,000 square feet of impact in the 30 to 50 foot buffer, about 29,000 square feet between the 50 and 100 foot buffer, and 22,000 square feet in the vernal pool buffer. The current plan proposes no impact in the 30 to 50 foot buffer, 22,800 square feet of impact to the 50 and 100-foot buffer and 0 impact in the 50 to 100-foot buffer. So we've dramatically reduced the amount of buffer impact with this plan. So we feel that this plan is a great improvement to what was before the commission before, not only protecting those cultural resources, but protecting the wetlands resources around the site and in accommodating migration paths for that vernal pool. Jeff, did you want to add anything else before I turn it over?
No, other than I do want to just highlight that the area we're protecting is sort of the top of the hill, right? So, you know, the most significant historic or cultural resources are in the elevated portions of this property, but it's also just a beautiful natural open space area that's going to be kept, preserved, and available to the public. So we do think there's a lot of conservation value here, separate from just protecting the wetlands and the vernal pool areas. So we're feeling pretty good about this. Pat Garner's not here tonight to speak to any of these issues, but I think that most of you understand, and I only know this from Pat and other wetlands consultants, these vernal pool creatures aren't really looking to come out of the vernal pool and then head to the wetlands. They're more inclined to come out of the pool and migrate out to these upland areas. So I think that protecting this area has a lot of value to the vernal pool habitat there. So I think we'll leave it at that. And then, you know, this is going out to peer review, as I mentioned before. So we're expecting that you'll have time to digest the materials that Sean's provided. We'll get comments back from DGT. They're going to be focused primarily on the stormwater designs here, and then we'll, you know, ultimately be back in front of the commission for a continued hearing posture. But we're open to any discussion or questions that you have at this point.
Now, Dave Picard, did you have questions on this? Or Mary, did you have questions?
Yeah, Dave is not here. You know, we obviously haven't had a chance to review these or look at them at all, and Dave is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I don't. You are emailing them to do you? Because I haven't seen them yet. Did you email copies of plans or?
The package was emailed to Denise, and then I think that I circulated it to, well, Sean, you sent it also to somebody else, right?
Yeah, I think, Chris, I think I did copy you on the email to Denise with the link to the plans and the materials.
I didn't see this before.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So if you could email it again, please. And
Sure.
then we'll forward it to Dave.
Okay.
So we should probably continue this until our next meeting at, let's see what time.
As you're looking for a date, I'll just mention we did continue the planning board hearing out to January 24th.
Oh, okay.
And we did that because we want to give DGT sufficient time to get through the materials. I mean, you'll see once you get them that it's a whole new plan set. It's a new drainage report. It's going to take them some time to get through it. And then we'd like a small amount of time also to review their comments. So with the planning board, we're out to January 24th.
Okay. So
yeah, we have a meeting on the 25th, January 25th.
Okay.
Continue.
I think that would be perfect if that works for you.
Let's see.
And I don't know if you want to open things up to public comment. I'm not sure if there's even anyone on for this matter, but since we're here, I thought I'd just mention that possibility. I know last night there weren't any residents that spoke, but.
Yeah, I think there may not be any members of the public here for this.
No. How about if we put this on for January 25th? So let's put this on for January 25th. How about January 25th at 8 o'clock?
That sounds great. We'll resend the link to you so you have
Okay.
access to the documents. Do you want us
Okay.
to send any hard copies?
Yes, please.
How many would you like?
How about 3, please?
Okay.
Of the plans as well as the drainage report, we have, one of those 2-inch thick drainage studies as well.
Yes,
Just
please.
one of the drainage report, I would say.
One?
What
And
we
then they'll
often
send
do is
PDFs
we could
as well.
send one complete drainage report and then a couple extra hard copies of the narrative. If that would help.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And Mary, I was just looking at the website. I apologize. I don't think you were on board the last time we were. Okay. So I have your email now. I'm gonna send the link to you as well when I send it to Chris here.
Great.
And I'll email that to Mary also.
Okay, great. And we'll
Great.
get you those hard copies as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a
You
good night.
too. Thank you. And our next,
Do we need to vote on that continuance or?
let's vote on it. Like,
I'll make a motion that we continue Governor's Landing to December 25th at 8 p.m. Is that correct?
Yeah, January.
Oh, excuse me, I meant January. Yes, I meant January. January 25th at 8 p.m.
I second that. Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Sandy, aye. Marcella, aye.
Is that commission conservation permit, the conservation commission vote for that. And for 8:15 we have 165 South Street and parcel 0332-001 for unpermitted work.
All
So
right, yes. And we have Rick Morrill is here. He's the homeowner at 165 and the owner of the parcel. And I met with Rick today, and let me share a few pictures. And Rick actually has plans for the property as well. Okay. So I've been to this site a couple times. Where it was. All right, so these pictures are taken from the road. Rick had installed a gravel road through the woods going along, and Vernal Pool is behind, maybe 20 to 30 feet away. And the gravel road connects his property to the access road into the gravel pits, which he has purchased recently. So we went out there today. It was a little bit more snow covered. So this is standing on the road looking at the vernal pool. And he had the area flagged. Rick, when did you have the area flagged, the wetland flags done?
I think that was probably about 5 years ago. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just make sure I wasn't muted. Yeah, I think it was probably around 5. I didn't look at the date on those that plan I sent you. So it was somewhere around there, maybe 4.
Yeah, and so here you can see the road. He's had to pull out some smaller trees and disturb the ground for that. So Rick, why don't you explain to the board, the purpose of your road, et cetera?
Sure. So as Mary mentioned, I recently purchased it, and down the pit there's a stream that runs through as a culvert, and that culvert, as you see in that picture there, over time that had backed up, so it had collected a lot of debris and branches and things like that. So that has a tendency to continue to back up. So I have a backhoe that I have on my property, and I really don't want to drive it on the road because, quite honestly, it's not legal to do that. So I created a path to get to the access to get down there. So, like I said to Mary, probably a handful of times over the year that I'd have to go down there and kind of free that up and prevent it from backing up. So that's why I did that. And the path that I created was the closest distance from my property to the access road. So I took a path of least resistance, if you will.
And these are the plans we're done, and kind of the pertinent area. So here's his house lot. Here's South Street. Here's the access road into the gravel pits. And he constructed the road like pretty much right in here, and the vernal pool being here. And the flags that I saw on site did include the vernal pool. They were included in the wetland flagged area. And so he does have wetlands on both sides of the property. So in terms of, we were kind of trying to think if there was any alternative to what he built. And I guess they're potentially back there, but I'm not sure that they flagged the whole line there. That looks like that's confusing. Did they get everything on your property, or were they just getting the sand pit property?
Well, they definitely flagged some that were on my property. I think she captured most of it. And like I said to you on the site, there might have been a little area that was upland, but again, there's heavy growth there. It's not like I can just say, hey, I'm going to put a road over here, because there's, that's really what I did. I scoped out where I would take down minimal trees. They were probably three inches in diameter to get over to that access road. So I think most of the flagging was captured. She didn't capture everything around the vernal pool, as you can tell. That gets closer to my property that would encircle it. It doesn't look like she completed that, but maybe because I told her to focus mostly on the back side where I said there would possibly be a couple of buildable lots. I think that's why.
Okay. Yeah, so the work he did was certainly within the vernal pool resource area. The larger lot is subject to the Upton bylaw, so it was work within the vernal pool resource area. So I'm not sure that the commission would have allowed this under a filing. I think the commission needs to, well, at least we now have kind of an idea of what was done. And I think a route forward, the commission can either consider asking him to just restore it outright, we may want to issue an enforcement order to formalize it, or we can ask him to file for this road, but I'm not sure that it's permittable given that it's within the vernal pool resource area. Any comments or questions from the commissioners?
So Rick, so the culvert and the crossing were all pre-existing that way. You didn't do any work on those?
No, they've been there for years.
And the debris, is that from beaver activity? Do you know, or is?
It's kind of hard to tell. As I showed Mary today, was definitely a beaver dam further upstream. That area had been blocked for a long time. So a lot of that, that area was under a significant amount of water, and it affected a lot of the trees in that area because they were underwater. So I think branches had fallen over the years, and now when water runs through, I think the branches, they just lift up and come down to that culvert. So it's just something that has to be maintained, clear them out, and I think at some point they'll stop coming down until yes, that beaver dam breaks that's further upstream. So again, that driveway or that road we're calling it, that is clearly just to get my machine over there once in a great while, because what happens is the previous owners had an issue too. They had machines over there and kids would vandalize them. That's why I don't want to leave my backhoe over there. So again, it's something that I'm not taking my cars down there. It was just for the backhoe. So I'm not sure how you guys want to handle it.
I do have a question. Something you said earlier about driving the backhoe on the road being illegal. I think the commission, are you sure about that?
Well, it's an unregistered vehicle. So it comes with.
I used to work on farms when I was growing up, not in this state, but in other states. And, we were certainly allowed to drive farm equipment on public roads without them being registered or anything. So I just would like that person would like that clarified a bit, whether or not there really would be a prohibition against you driving 100 feet up the road or 150 feet up the road to access your property through the gate that's already there. That answer to that question would mean a lot to me in terms of where we should go forward here.
Yeah, it is a good question, and I've always been under the understanding that you can't, but I can certainly get clarification on that from, Upton PD. It's always because I was always under the impression that anything that is on the road is uninsured is a liability, and if something happens, may not be my fault, but it's going to be an issue. But I can get that answer for sure.
Have you looked at putting up culvert fencing? I've been out there before, and the beavers were in there. I don't know if they are now. I haven't been there in a while, but culvert fencing might eliminate a lot of your issues with that getting blocked up.
Yeah, like I said, I've just recently taken ownership, and I haven't given much thought on how to stop it other than just maintain it. They clearly have built a big dam a little further upstream, and I think their intentions are somewhere else right now. So I don't know. There was a fence. There was a wire fence that was on a down tree, and that fence had been getting backed up with debris. So I didn't think that served a good purpose anymore, and it's like defeating the purpose. So I'm not sure if that fence was the same thing you're talking about.
Well, there is a way it needs to be done. There's a proper way to do it. You're not just throwing a gate across the culvert. You're actually making an enclosure, so to speak, that goes out into or upstream in some kind of a curving fashion so that it keeps the beavers and, you know, the debris away from it. If you just put that fence against the culvert, they're just going to block it right there at the culvert.
Right.
So it's like making a, you know, some kind of an exclusionary area around the inlet of that culvert.
Yep. Gotcha. No, I definitely look into it. I haven't given much thought because they're really not down here doing anything. This is just
They
debris.
will.
Where I think, yeah,
They will.
Yeah,
They will.
I'm sure.
If there's still beavers in that watershed, they will block that culvert at some point.
Yeah, I believe you.
Does
So it
that mean
sounds like Mike would like the question answered about the driving the backhoe on the road. And Tom has given some good suggestions for how to deal with the culvert, protecting it. And so do we want to make a decision, just wait until the next meeting to make a decision on how to deal with this until the question's answered about the legality of driving the machinery or the equipment on the road?
That's probably a good idea because nothing's going to happen right now anyway.
Yeah.
so? Right
Sounds
now, is that what is the item for that spot? Should that be an enforcement order or a notice of intent or something?
Well, I guess we haven't issued an enforcement order yet. You could call it an enforcement situation
Okay.
or whatever. That
Excuse me, this is Sandy. What's the future plan for this? I guess I missed that detail.
There isn't one.
So you bought the property just to own the property? You don't plan on developing it or building a house or?
No, so
you wouldn't be coming to us with other paperwork to develop with a notice of intent or something?
there is no
If we're going to come with a notice of intent, then, you know, we need it repaired, I guess.
Yeah, there is no plan for any development right now.
Right.
Years ago, I did have it flagged to see what was on site as far as frontage lots, but there is no plan. I don't have any intentions of building right now, so.
So right now, you just want to manage this overflow of the culvert. So maybe he just needs to put in an RFD for that or something.
What's an RFD?
Oh, just show us a plan. It's a filing. It's a small filing.
Yeah, well, I think Sandy that so for the road that he already put in, the dirt kind of passageway. Yeah, I think the commission needs to decide if they want to ask him to do a filing for it, or if it's not work that would have been allowed and then it would just need to be restored. That there wouldn't be. We'd probably issue enforcement and then just require a restoration. So I think that's kind of the route the two options the commission needs to think about.
And Mary, the other thing too is, I don't know if you looked at the Natural Heritage Atlas, but that sand and gravel area is also delineated as estimated habitat in the back.
Does it go all the way to the road?
No, it's just the sand and gravel pit itself. I don't know if it's for turtles or.
That's a good point. Thank you, Dave, for bringing that up.
Well, maybe
I don't have an opinion until I see it. I'll have to take a ride out and look at it. You can't tell anything from pictures and things that are this small on screen, so.
It is small. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not
wait.
sure how long it is. It's relatively long, Sandy, you know, a couple 100 feet long.
Right.
Yeah.
What would restoration entail? Is there planting or moving dirt, or what exactly would that look like?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's, he kind of cleared, it involved, raking some of there's not a lot of soil that was displaced back. And then I think putting some planting in and then just leaving it and not using it. If we decided to allow the use as a kind of like an occasional road that gets used really only, he thinks, a couple times a year within that, vernal pool resource area, it would just be kind of like a forest road that wouldn't get used very often. So the commission may decide that it's not detrimental to the vernal pool resource area. I mean, that's some of the things that the commission needs to consider.
Well, how wide is it right now, the road that was created, versus how wide is a piece of equipment? Is the piece backhoe?
I'd say it's probably 15 feet wide. Right around there. It varies in places, but yeah, I'd say it's roughly 15, and it winds
twice as wide as the backhoe, maybe right now.
Yeah, backhoe is probably 8 feet. Yeah, roughly. But it's not the whole road isn't like that. It's like I said, I mean, the area for the backhoe, that the intent, to drive down is like 9 or 10 feet wide. But the area, like, if there was a tree and it took it down, it disturbed that ground there, and it might have made it a little wider than that 10, 12 feet. But like somebody else said, I mean, I think going down and looking at it would give you the best idea of what's there.
Yeah, and maybe the commission wants to do a site visit on this one. It might be a good idea.
So would that be a future discussion item?
Well, Mary, when would be a good time to look at that, though? I mean, with snow cover and everything else, is this a good time to do it?
Probably the snow will melt after Friday, I would think. But yeah. Yeah, it's definitely better to look at it when the snow is gone.
So should we put that on for a future discussion item?
Sure. Do we want to schedule a possible site visit together, or just take, is it something we'd see from the road if we were to swing by and take a look at it individually?
I think a site visit would be better. You can't really see a lot from the road.
Okay. Well, could we schedule a site visit, but could we maybe do it after the holidays?
That makes sense. Yeah, we could do it Monday or Tuesday before our next meeting, or even the Wednesday of the meeting. The 26th to the 27th, 28th.
I could do any one of those, so if you all want to decide on something, that's pretty flexible.
The 27th is better for me, but
the afternoons is preferred on my part. The 27th is fine.
What time?
Go around noon.
Noon sounds good.
Rick, are you available to be there then? Do you know?
I believe so.
All right. Well, I can be there. Great. And maybe, and then we'll have the site visit. And so for the meeting on the 28th, and hopefully we'll know the answer to the driving the backhoe on the road. We should have more and better information to make decisions.
Sounds good.
I think you're gonna find out that you can't drive anything on the road without insurance and registration, so. Unless he's got agricultural exemption or whatever, which I've never heard of.
And should we put that on our agenda for the 27th?
Yeah, so it'll be on our 28th agenda, and then I guess we'll probably, if we have enough people coming on the 27th, we should post that site visit or as a meeting.
We may not need to since we're meeting the following evening. But-
Okay.
And not everybody may make the site visit, so having it discussed at the meeting might be more inclusive for folks who couldn't make the site visit.
So what's the address? 125 South Street?
165. And I think, there's that access road to the gravel pit. I think you could park a few cars at the end of that access road because South Street's a little narrow.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. That sounds good. So we'll leave that on our agenda for the 27th at, let me see the time.
The site visit is on the 27th, right? Then the meeting
Right.
is. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So we have that on the 27th for the 27th at 12:28. About 12:20. How about if we do the site visit before our meeting on the 28th?
Yes. So site visit on the 27th at 12.
Okay.
And then I don't know if you want to give them a time on the 28th or not.
Let me just see what time. See. How about if we say on the 28th at trying to see what we have down. How about choose on the 28th at how about 8 p.m.
Okay, that works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. We all set?
Any other questions or concerns? Mary, are we all set?
I think we're all set until the
Okay.
27th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay. Now, let's go back to our general business. Administrative report, Mary.
All right. Let me just share my report again. All right, so it has been a long time since we met, so a lot went on. So it took me a while to do the report. I think the people at East Street, I'm finding 22 and 24 East Street aren't being very communicative about, cooperating with me, but it seems to be okay. So I just need to keep my eye on them. 250 Milford Street. This is what used to be Madame's restaurant, I think.
Right.
And what his landscaper, they have been dumping leaves, kind of near a wetland, like off the edge of the parking lot. It is a really big pile, but it's not in the wetland. It's maybe, it's maybe 20 to 30 feet away. I did not, do a delineation, to figure out the exact edge, but so it's kind of iffy. It's not the greatest. He thought it was fine because it's right next to his septic system. I don't know. I guess I have a few pictures of that. Here's the site he's storing equipment. And then just off here, you can't really see how big the pile is because it's a steep bank, but it's a huge pile of leaves. Yeah.
Could we
What
just
else?
ask them to move the leaves off site or away from the wetland?
Yeah, I could ask him to move them away from the wetlands. The wetland there kind of does go around. I think he has some upland area that he could use. It's just not as easy as this, off the back. And we were talking about that, the whole issue of leaves in town. I guess there was a place in Milford that used to take people dumping leaves, but there aren't very many places that take them.
Well, I am trying to kill my lawn. Maybe he'd like to deliver them to me.
Yeah, let's see. So 144 West River Street, I've been working with the landowner. He's getting ready to submit an NOI. Mike, I believe you met with him as well this summer. Do you remember that one? At any rate, he's working on that. I think I'm just realizing we're just going to have to kind of, watch what he does carefully. Just the way he's been interacting with us. So, and then 8 Stearns Road, he's planning on doing some work. And I just was kind of curious if anyone on the commission remembers notices of intent for Stearns Road. These would have been a long, long time ago when these houses were built. At any rate, definitely there's a intermittent stream there, and it seems to have connectivity down to the Claflin Farm Road project, to the wetlands down there. And I also noticed, he was wanting to put a garage in, and I think he'll file for, and an addition, I think he'll be filing for those. But his neighbor also put a little road in on grass area right next to his wetland. So I don't know if we want to reach out to him. It looks like it's new. Stuff going on there.
Mary, just to back up, I did talk to the guy at 144 West River Road. He just had a question about where basically where the bank begins, how you delineate the riverfront zone, and so we talked about that for a while. And he said he has a very well-defined bank, so can determine pretty easily where his riverfront line is.
Yeah.
He didn't have any other questions at this time. I know he's planning on doing some work eventually, but he'll have to file if he can't keep out of the 200-foot zone.
Yeah, he's planning on putting a house in, and it is going to touch. I think he's going to be able to keep it mostly out of the 200-foot, but he thinks he hasn't had engineered plans done yet, but he believes he has about 5,000 square foot of alteration within the riverfront area. So.
Yeah, there was a septic plan done not too long ago, and that plan shows the 200-foot line.
Oh, okay. That's good information. So for 144.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got the number right, it's the guy on the West River side of the street, right?
Yeah, he wants to put a nursery in and stuff
Yes.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's one then.
that's the one. Yeah. Okay. I'll check for a septic filing.
Fairly recent, within the last several years, because it was just built.
Yeah. Well, I noticed there were erosion controls up there, and I asked him about it. He's like, "Oh, I just put these in, but they didn't look that new to me." So it was.
Did you see the retaining wall there? I think that's was built to keep the septic system outside of the resource area.
Okay. I did not see the retaining wall.
Yeah, there's
And then today they're finally doing the work at 135 South Street. Bottom. Sorry about this. So they've started creating the channel within the wetland. He thinks he'll be done by tomorrow, hopefully. And I asked him if it were possible to get some kind of erosion controls up before the rain on Friday. He's hoping to do that. If you guys remember, this is the DPW work that's within the wetland to kind of create a channel to keep the neighboring house from flooding. But it looked well contained, and he's doing a pretty nice job. He's going to clean the roots out of the channel. That's the update on that. And I had another question, but I've forgotten it for the moment. Oh, well, actually, I think we have Juan on the line for 32 Milford Street. Juan, are you still here? Maybe he hung up.
Hi.
Oh, you are here. All right,
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. This is a site that David had been working with Juan. He had asked him to clean up wood that was stacked kind of in the wetland area. Is that right, Juan?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And David asked him to install a silt fence. I went out to the site and it looked nicely cleaned up. Everything was in order. I don't know, Chris, because we don't have meeting minutes for this time period that are published yet. I don't think was an enforcement order actually issued for 32 Milford, or was it just he was asked to clean up?
I think it was asked to clean up. That was from Dave.
Yeah. Yes, I don't think there was an enforcement order here. So I think, Juan had noticed that he was still on the agenda, and it's good he did. So I was able to follow up and make sure that it was cleaned up. And then Juan and David and Juan and myself, he does have plans to do maybe future work on his property. So he kind of knows kind of where the wetland is now and what he would need that he would need to file if he's in a certain proximity to the wetland. So I think this issue is taken care of, and we can take it off the agenda now.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes, thank you, Juan. Yeah,
Sorry.
so I think that is pretty much it. Oh, except I went through a website training because it's different from the website stuff I was used to in Webster, and I now are putting up the plans on the website. So it's finally up to date with plans like the legal ads say. So that's good. That's pretty much it for administrator's report.
Okay. How about administrative report?
All right. We can look at the finances. Oh, that's in the packet. And I do have, did anyone get a chance to look at the minutes that I drafted for 8/24? If people were okay with them, we can approve them.
Yep. Do you have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote on that. Aye. Chris?
Tom, I. Alan, I.
David, I.
Chris, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella,
Chris, aye. Chris, aye. Let's do a voice vote. Was all in favor of the minutes for the 22nd?
Okay. And then this is just the financial report. I don't think there's anything too unusual on here. I'm still not sure if the numbers are completely accurate, but I think they're pretty close.
looks good. As
Mary?
long as we have something to work from, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
For the conservation fund, has the payment for the APR been subtracted for it? If not, that should be tracked as an obligation still.
Okay.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, or someone remember better than me, was it 17,500 that we agreed to pay?
17.
Tom,
Bill says it's 17.
I think we agreed to add $5,000 to whatever we originally agreed to.
Yeah, and I think we were 12,000 or 12,500. I don't remember which, but
We were at 12,000, so we're at 17,000 now.
okay.
So that should go under obligations for the conservation fund.
Yeah.
Is that the one they have listed under expenses on the other sheet you sent out today? That's a different conservation fund, right?
Yeah, so that conservation fund and that number, I am confused about that. And I need to talk, there's two land stewardship funds, and I don't think I even have one of them on here. This is like just, so the 1,000 is out of kind of the general conservation budget. I understand that. But this land stewardship revolving fund, there seem to be one or two of them, and I just need to talk to Kenny, or maybe Marcella, or Trish, and just figure out. I'm not understanding,
Okay,
and they're not even both showing here. So
one of the revolving funds is the community garden.
Yes, that one's easy.
Okay, then there's the land stewardship revolving fund. I'm not aware of any other revolving fund.
Okay.
Maybe they got created twice or something, and
I think it might have to do with the Warrenbrook Forestry project. I think one of those payments might have been put into a separate fund.
That would make sense, because it does seem like when Kenny sends out his monthly reading or whatever, there's two accounts, and I don't really understand the difference between them. But if one of them is a forestry one, that might make sense.
Well,
so does forestry have its own revolving fund?
It should not. No. But there were two forestry payments, I think, right? And so maybe one of them might have went into. He might have created a fund for one of them and not for the other. I don't know, but that'd be my guess, Mary. First place,
Okay.
first question to ask.
You have to watch, because the people in the treasurer's office don't understand where our money comes in from and which fund it needs to go to. They continually get things mixed up.
Yeah.
So under the expense account in the sheet that you sent out earlier today, that's where all of the funds you were talking about should go. All under the same one, right?
Let me
But
just
it's
look at,
separate for, the forestry is separate. The conservation fund is separate, the one we use for buying property and stuff. So you've only got 3 accounts here. I can't read the one you just posted, apparently. Too small or whatever. I'll have to print it out, look at it.
is this the one you were talking about?
No, you sent something out today.
Oh, I think the other
Budget.
thing I sent was the budget for next year.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
but there's only 3 budget numbers there, salary, expenses, and beaver fund.
Yep, that's right.
So in the expenses, that's where all your land steward stuff goes, right?
Let me see if I can.
Space. It says conservation land maintenance, so that's a maintenance fund. That's expenses.
Where's that budget? It's in my email, at least I know that much.
No, I saw it.
Yeah,
It must have been.
Yeah, it's very simple. Can everyone else read the print on these items she's putting up? Maybe I need to do something with my computer.
Yeah, I can read it. I have a pretty big
It's
screen
readable
though.
for you, all right.
That's a
I'll have
big
to do
screen.
something here to clear it up.
All right, so yeah, this is what we were talking about,
Right.
budget.
The
Yeah.
budget. Yeah.
And so,
And
yeah,
this-
so there's the expenses, which is pretty much just that one account.
Right.
So the 9th, yeah, and this is what, so basically, Joe has asked that we level fund our expenses if possible, and it looks like that's what you guys have done for the past several years. These numbers have always been the same.
Right.
Although like the beaver money doesn't seem like it's getting spent, but that's okay. It's there if it's needed.
Right.
Right. They take it back every year if we don't use it. That's fine.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I have to submit budget relatively shortly, probably before our next meeting, I think is when it's due. So if we can have a motion to, just do the level funding of the expenses, and then the salary, they have their formula, which I still need to put in to figure out, because this was the request for last year. It's not the request for next year, because the request we're making for is fiscal year 24. So I need to put those numbers out and get that to you guys, but it's whatever they tell me it is. So.
Right.
Do you need a motion to accept your level funding proposal?
I think we do need a motion to accept the level funded budget.
Pending whatever salary arrangement you need to make.
Right.
Okay. Second.
A third. I agree.
Marcella, I.
Chris, I.
Aye.
Alan,
David,
aye.
aye.
Sandy, I.
Okay.
And then one last thing for administrator's report is we just got today 2 legal ad bills. So if we can, I did not make up the voucher for it, but if we can approve paying them, then I can pay them. There's this one and then one more. And this one. We seem to have 2 accounts, and maybe I'll figure that out at some point, why we have 2 and if we need 2. But
Okay, I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Second.
Chris, I.
Dandy, aye.
Tom, I.
David, I.
Marcella, aye.
Hey, Mary, this is Bill.
Yes.
One of the accounts may be associated with the DPW because Trish set these up when she was working for both of us.
Okay. Oh, so one of the newspaper ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed it when you flashed it on the screen, but one of them may have box 13 as the address.
In which case, you guys would pay the bill instead of
No,
us.
no.
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 Oh, come on. Your budget is big.
I'll make a motion that DPW.
Can motion all your damn well, please.
Mary, I contacted the newspaper to or make the or the newspaper ads come from us. So I don't know why there would be 2.
Okay. All right. So I think that's it for administrative report and financial update.
Now, for financial update, Mike had mentioned that we should pay $300 to pay for the ad for the $300 for the ad for the upcoming posting.
Well, yeah, Chris, we're preparing a notice of intent for the trail bridge on the Robertson property, and it's the notice of intent is there's no fee for that because the town is exempt. But I'm not at this instant sure about if we need to pay a filing fee to Mass Natural Heritage because the Robertson property is within priority habitat. So Mass Natural Heritage Regulatory will be reviewing it. I do have an email into them, and I'm hoping to hear back tomorrow. If we have to pay an application fee to them, it would be $300 based on their fee schedule. So I think what I'd like to do is ask for authority to pay the application fee to Mass Natural Heritage if it's required. We're hoping to put the NOI for the trail bridge on the December 28th meeting agenda.
I'll make that motion. What Mike said.
I second that.
Voice vote.
Sandy, aye.
Tom,
Yep.
I.
Aye.
Like thank you.
Aye.
That would be the only expense with affiliated with that application?
Other than the legal ad, yes, that should be the only expense.
But we're exempt from the notice of intent.
Yeah, I believe we are.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Are we up to website now?
Website, nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. How about open space committee?
Very little to say. I just wanted to mention that the package included some information about some land off of Barbara's Path. We did have a landowner or landowners approach us about open space, about working on a project to preserve those particular parcels. In any case, you can take a look at that. More to come on that later, but that's the context for what's in the package.
Okay, thank you. How about land stewardship committee?
We're just doing what we can. We did a second walkthrough at the Mechanic Street property, and had decided to use the information that was gathered to start flagging and possibly cutting a trail. But that's all. We'll flag it first. We probably should be talking with SVT about a final design for the trails, and they might have folks who can help cut the trails. We were supposed to do that last weekend, and that didn't pan out. So we'll do that one probably sometime in January.
Thank you. And new items. We had annual report 2022. Did anyone have something we should do with for that? I know that was on our agenda.
Yeah, Chris, I looked at it a little bit and started to get the numbers for the applications, but that's going to take me a little while since I wasn't on the whole year. But I'll try to get that done, within the next week or so.
Okay, perfect. So we can keep that on our next agenda because it's due by the December or January 10th. And National Grid maintenance, they had something for us to look over. And then Sun Springs had a trail update.
Sylvan Springs, yeah. Let me share my screen here. So, if you guys remember this development, which is mostly in Mendon, off of, I guess, what does it say, Northbridge Street? And then just this little portion of it is in Upton, Rawson Farm Drive, with however many lots that is. The engineer wanted to be here tonight, but I guess he called me this afternoon and was very sick, so he couldn't make it. They're basically requesting a 3-year extension to this project. I think the original order was issued many years ago, like maybe 2007, something like that. It's been extended several times. But they are requesting, it expires today, although because of COVID, there's actually there's a very long grace period. So, but he would still like the 3-year extension. He does believe they can finish it within 3 years.
I move that we grant the extension.
Do we have to do anything for that, Mary?
No, I did not get down there to look at it. He said that they have not really even started the Upton work yet, so I didn't take a look at it or anything. This is the one where they have people giving us reports every once in a while, or they had been. Yeah, I think it seems reasonable to issue the extension. Unless we
Second.
want to refile, which would be a lot of work for them.
I'll second that.
Chris, I.
Tom,
Sandy,
I.
David, I.
Alan, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Do we have to fill anything out for that, Mary?
Yeah, and actually Marcella was in the office, so there is a extension paperwork which does need signatures on it. And I don't have any extensions that already have signatures on it. So if you guys could stop by, or at least 3 of you stop by sometime next week. I don't actually have, it's sitting in in the office right now. I didn't give it to Denise or anything. I will be out tomorrow and Friday, but I'll be back next week on Monday.
Okay. And we have Upton Ridge baseline report for Pulte, and that's still ongoing.
Yeah, so they just submitted it. I looked at it. I don't know if you guys typically do a thorough review of this kind of thing or just accept it. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, we haven't really had too many submittals like this before. I mean, it's good that we did the baseline report. The new CR format clearly calls out baseline reports. I looked through this. It's going to depend how hard we want to be about this. Mary, if you could scroll down to the figures. If keep yeah. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I think there's a plan that shows their photo points. Is this it? I think. Can you?
Significant wildlife habitat features. I can zoom in a little bit here.
Well, no. I think maybe go a little further. I think this was maybe meant to be their photo point. Yeah, that's the thing. When normally go back up just to that. This one's fine. When you do baseline report, normally you photo document site conditions, including the conditions at each corner. So you can see like that dotted line. Maybe Mary, just scroll up just a hair. A little more, yeah, a little more. Okay, you can see the dotted line. I believe that's everything within that is protected by the conservation restriction, and I don't think they documented the corners like you would normally do in a conservation restriction. So
You're talking about the yellow dotted line?
the yellow dotted line, yeah, I think that's part of the CR, and then it's like the rest of it below it is also part of the CR. They documented features within the CR protected land, but they did not document the corners. So we don't know if those corners are how they're bounded, if they're bounded, or not. You know, in the future, if there is some activity within the CR protected zone, we may not realize it if there's not bounds there. If there are bounds, they should have been photographed. So, but it depends how hard you guys want to be on them for this. They'd have to go out there, one more day and do the photo documentation. Basically, they'd add a plan and the photos to this submittal.
I don't have a problem asking them to do that. If that's how it's typically done and that's our only way of making sure that those bounds are in place, which is kind of important.
I agree with Marcella.
Yeah, I agree as well.
So, Mike, are they supposed to install like bounds?
I
Like,
have to look at the plans.
okay,
There should have been look at the plans first and see if it did require bounds, and if not, then at least the corner should be located and photographed.
okay.
You know, I don't know what the planning board required in terms of, or the commission required in terms of bounds.
If we
No,
did
so
have bounds, would we be within our rights just as, you know, put a drill hole or stick a stake in the ground just for our own purposes, or is that not cool?
Well, I've done a few CR baselines, and sometimes there's not a corner or a bound there. There just isn't one. The plan doesn't include one. So I try to go to the location as best I can, in this case by GPS, and photo document it, and just note that there's no bound at that location.
So you think GPS is adequate to identify, you know, if they GPS those corners and they photograph them?
You know, it's accurate enough, you know, for a Metacomet baseline report. But here, I think you're gonna be close to development footprint all along this edge. So you might want them to survey it in. I don't know. But I think the first thing to do is ask them is look at the plan, find the plan, and see if there's bounds on it.
Let's start.
Yeah, I can certainly do that and see what's required. I haven't looked at this order at all and see what's required.
Mm.
And it sounds like they're almost done. So there's only 4 more units to complete.
Mm.
And because somebody was calling asking about, you know, how many open order of conditions were there for this project, and there's only 1 for the whole thing. So that they may be thinking of looking to get a certificate of compliance. Obviously not now, but when they're done. So. All right, so I'll look at the plans and see and order and see what I can find.
So Mary, I tracked this for water sewer hookups.
Uh-huh.
And the last time I looked, there were about 30 units that didn't have water or sewer yet. So I don't think they're that close to finished.
Okay, that's good. At the staff meeting yesterday, they were saying that maybe they have a whole bunch under construction, but that there were 4. They only had 4 like completely unstarted, you know, just foundations left.
Well, that may be, yeah.
Yeah.
I can just tell you that they haven't hooked up every unit to water or sewer yet.
Right.
And they've been selling about 4 months. So.
Wow.
So I think they've got at least 6 months to a year before they're fully built out and sold.
Okay. All right, so we'll keep the Upton Ridge baseline report on the agenda so we can discuss it again.
Okay. And for the annual town meeting, do we have anything to comment there? Because we can put that in for our ongoing items again. And how about our ongoing items list? Do you have anything for there?
Yeah, I know we can, as we said earlier, you can get rid of 32 Milford Street now.
Okay. Okay.
And everything else, I don't have anything on any of those others.
Okay, does anyone else have something to do from ongoing items? Okay, so we'll add a couple things to that list. And anything else? Okay, then otherwise, have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we'll add some things onto our ongoing items, and then we'll see each other on the 27th.
Thanks, Chris. You too.
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Good job. Good job, Mary. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas, everyone.
Okay, thank you.